Here I can just picture all the activity around Jesus. If you think about it, this is the city, or the village, essentially, where the gospel of the kingdom goes out from here. Like, this is the place. Jesus left Nazareth. He was kicked. Later on they tried to throw him. We're going to go by Nazareth. They tried to kill him, but he was rejected. Think about this. No one from Nazareth became a disciple. The 12. So he comes here, and he comes to this commercial area, farmers and fishermen and those kinds of things. Yeah, exactly. I was going to mention that. So in that synagogue, here's an interesting thing about that synagogue. I don't know if you noticed, but the first church that we went to at Tapka was built by a Jewish nobleman in the 4th century. That church. But the synagogue here was built by a Roman centurion. And he had a servant who was sick and dying. And the elders of the synagogue came to Jesus and said, on behalf of the Roman centurion, asked Jesus to come and heal them. Why? Because here's what it says: He loves our nation and has built for us a synagogue. So in that era, there was such hostility between the Jews and the Romans, and yet, as Giles said, here in this city there seemed to be some cooperation, and maybe it had to do with just that centurion. So I love it. I love it for all the ministry that took place. So Peter and Andrew are called from here. James and John are called from here. And we're going to go by Matthew's tax collection booth. Are we? Where
you
it was?
Can identify
it. I think they said, at least I've always identified it somewhere along.
Look, I can talk about what I know, not
what
about
you know.
I don't know.
Okay. But anyhow, this is where. So if you're wondering how Jesus goes by the tax collector's booth and just says, "Come and follow me," and Levi immediately leaves his tax collector business and follows. Why? Because he's been witnessing all these miracles. He's been listening to all this teaching. He's been observing Jesus, and so he leaves all that behind. So lots of things take place here. There's actually a demoniac, a demonized man in the synagogue, and Jesus delivers him. That's the early in the Gospel of Mark. So just lots of things. But my two favorite ones are Jesus' reputation grew so much that the city was often overcrowded. That you couldn't even make your way through. And there was, again, a woman, and she, think about this, her menstrual cycle had gone on for 12 years. And she had probably exhausted every avenue and probably lots of resources. But she had heard about Jesus, and here's what she thought, and God granted her, this miracle. She said, if I can just touch his talent, right? If I can just touch his talent. And this is how willing Jesus is to be used as God. He's willing to be used as God, even when God doesn't make him aware that he's using him. Because as she touches him, Jesus says, "Who touched me?" You're in a crowd. What do you mean, who touched me? Lots of people are touching you. But power went out of him and healed her. I think that's just so marvelous. And then there's a man here whose name is Jairus. And Jairus' daughter is dying. Lots of people call her Tabitha. We don't know if that's her name or not. But she's actually dead. And Jesus comes to her, he says, she's not dead, and the people all laugh, like, what do you mean she's not dead? She's dead. And Jesus goes into the room, and this is just a beautiful scene. He says, I always get choked up on this. He says, wake up, little girl. And immediately she comes to life. So, that's why I'm always so touched here. this is where ministry just flooded. Ministry flooded from here to eventually the whole world, but this is where the news travels from. People were coming here, and you know, all kinds of miracles being done.
You ready? Good job.